My number 35, my number 34. Have I been announcing the wrong numbers?
Yeah, I think you have.
We go!
Hi, I'm Jayne.
And I'm Jen.
And we're SpielMill.
And we are counting down our top 50 roll-and rights.
Yeah, and that includes any flipping rights or any other verb and verbs. We're not really distinguishing between them.
Yeah, we've played a lot of them in the past couple years, as Jayne has been battling ME/CFS and sometimes playing from bed or recliner were the only things we could manage.
Yep. And so we're by far not the top experts in roll and rights or anything like that, but we've played 150 of them over the last couple of years, and so we thought it'd be fun to do our top 50 to highlight some of the best.
Absolutely, and this is our 40 through 31, so these are getting good.
Yeah. Yep, and so, yep.
Do you want to kick us off?
Sure. My first game has a great theme. This is my number 40, and in this game you play Hephaestus. Did I say that right?
Hephaestus.
Hephaestus, the blacksmith of the gods, who's creating a new shield for Achilles, and it's called Shield of Achilles.
This is a great one. I really like this game.
Yeah, this is a good one. So it's got a few things going on. It's got this shield, and in the shield there's different sections, and one of the weird or interesting parts of it is you want to mark things off in different sections, but depending on what sections you marked off on the previous turn, you can only mark off different sections on your next turn. And you roll on 3 dice 12, which are helping dictate which sections are available to you that turn as well, but also are dictating things such as you have to calculate your time spent, and one of the dice has to be attributed to that. And you want that to be a low number, but if you pick too much of the same number, you get penalized. So it's kind of an interesting game with a lot of different things you have to balance. And it's dice-based, so that makes it pretty rough at times if you get a lot of bad rolls. But it's really good, and the theme actually comes across pretty well for a roll and write. So I really like this one, and it's Shield of Achilles. The designer is Daniel Balabas, and I apologize if I pronounced that incorrectly, but it's self-published, so this is one that's available on the web.
Yep, that's a great choice.
Okay.
So my number 40 is a lot more probably recognizable to a lot of people than that one, and that is Twice as Clever, Ganz schön clever, Doppelt so clever, any of the clever games. And
all of the clever games? That's a big claim.
Yeah, we got jokes. This is by Wolfgang Warsch, and you basically in Stronghold Games, and you roll I think 5 or 6 dice, and you choose one of them to mark off a section, and then anything that's lower than that dice gets eliminated, and you don't roll that for your next turn. I've played this actually more on the app than I have the actual game. We got the game at Origins a couple years ago and really enjoyed it. And I downloaded the app and I play the app all the time. And I think there's probably a limit to how much you can play this game. Well, there's not, clearly, because I would have exceeded that. But at some point, you just there's a formula you follow, and you know the formula. So it doesn't have as much legs as I think some other games, but it's just really satisfying. You get there's that chain of events as you get, rewards for marking off certain boxes that is super satisfying. It's a great dopamine factory that way. So that is my number 40, Doppelt so clever.
And that's a good choice. I kind of overdid it on the app and kind of ran out of interest in the game, but only not because it's not a good game, but just because I overdid it on the app.
Yeah. I think I don't think I've played it actually recently because I kind of hit my wall, but I do that. I'll play it, I'll hit a wall, I'll walk away for a while, and then I'll go back to it. So it does clearly have some staying power.
Right.
All right.
Okay, well, my number 39 is a crossover from the previous list.
Okay.
And it's Imperial Settlers Roll and Write. And this is a good one. We don't play it enough, and so, it's potentially could be higher or maybe even lower with more play. We'd have to see.
Yep.
But, it's got 48 unique game sheets anyway. But it's Portal Games, Ignacy Trzewiczek. And, it's a good design. So I really like it. And What else do I want to say? But I don't know. You talked about it last time, so I didn't want to go on too long. But it's certainly worth a try. It's another commercially available roll and write. So
Yeah, absolutely. And Trevicek is just a really solid game designer, so it's a good game.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. My number 39 is a self-published game from Benjamin Gauthier called Roll and Cook. We have not played this one too many times, so this is another one that could go higher or lower. But there's 12 rounds to the game. Each one is an hour. You're collecting ingredients to try to make recipes, and I think there's some scaffolding of ingredients that you can create more premium ingredients out of lesser ingredients. But we love food. I love food-related games. There's a lot of interesting choices in this one, and I just really find it super satisfying. There's also the thing where the more of a recipe you make, the more points you get. So I like that. I like that kind of mechanism.
yeah, we need to get this to the table again. So
Yeah. And again, this is self-published. I believe it's a free roll and write.
with a chair.
Yeah. Get this to the chair. Yeah. As a free roll and write, it's a bargain.
Yep, another good choice. All right, my number 38. This is one we backed on Kickstarter, and the pandemic, of course, has led to an influx of print and plays on Kickstarter. And this one's from Dr. Finn's Games. So Steve Finn is the designer, and it's called Mining Colony Duel. This is my favorite of the ones that he did during the pandemic. He kind of got to a point where the shipping costs were too much, and he didn't even want to deal with shipping games anymore. I guess he wasn't making money off of it, really. And so he did one for Butterfly Garden. He did Mining Colony Duel, little Flower Shop Duel. This is the best of the three for sure. It's a polyomino game, and I haven't played Mining Colony, so I'm sure that's also a polyomino game. But it's a polyomino game. You're trying to fit a certain amount of polyominoes within a grid, and it's got a really neat solo play selection system, but it even works multiplayer with different goals you can shoot for. And I find it really fun, addictively fun. It's one of my most played roll and writes on this list, actually. So even though it's the 38, it's gotten over 30 plays, so it's gotten a lot. And so I do recommend it, and I assume it's available still from Stephen from Dr. Finn's Games. So, but anyway, it's Mining Colony Duels, my number 38.
Yeah, and you've played this one a lot solo. I have far fewer plays of it than you. I don't think it made my top 50, but just a function of the fact that I have not played it very often. But I do recall it being like a good game. So yeah. All right. My number 38 is another print and play from Radislaw Ignatow. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong. And it is Mage Forge. There's a bunch of different sort of sheets for this game, but the basic premise is you're collecting magic ingredients to craft items, and then more powerful items, and just have the most power at the end of the game to beat the baddies. One of the things that I really like about this is there's a lot of advanced planning you need to do. You need to be thinking ahead, because in order to craft the sort of higher value items, you need to craft the right lower value items so you have the correct ingredients that you need. And if you don't plan right, you won't be able to maximize your points at the end. And I just really like that. There's a lot of really meaningful decision making in it for a roll and write. And the art is actually really nice as well, and there's some resource management. So this is a really great game. This is my number 38, Mage Forge.
That's a good choice. It's such a good choice. It's also my number 37.
What?
So anyway, that's my 37 is Mage Forge, and you just talked about it a bunch, but like you said, the leveling up, I like that he has several variable ways to play the game. There's 3 different game sheets, I believe, and each one has its own set of slate rules modifications, like those kind of would, and it's really fun. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, I know that there was one sheet that we liked in particular better than the rest, but we liked all of them. There was none that were stinkers.
And it gives you the option depending on maybe your preferential gameplay.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, great choice. Okay. This is my print and play section of the list, I think, because my number 37 is also a print and play and a crossover from yesterday.
Oh.
From Martin Odino, and that is Kingdom Maps.
Oh.
And again, we love these games. It's got variable scoring, so you're picking different scoring conditions every game, and you're drawing a map. And we just really like these map-based games. I think I was such a map nerd when I was a little girl. The idea of making my own map is really pleasing to me. And then again, it has this sort of almost Zen meditative quality where we're drawing as we go. So we get really elaborate sometimes with what we draw on these little hexagons on the map. You know, my castles sometimes have different colored flags, and it's crazy. But it's just a really fun, it's a fun roll and write, and you know, you get to draw and color, and I love that.
Yeah, you get a nice map at the end of the game that looks pretty cool. And,
yeah.
I really like it as well, obviously, since it was a crossover.
Yep. All right.
We on 37?
Well, that was my 37, yeah.
I lost track. My 37 is actually a series of games, but they're all pretty much played the same way, and that is Super Skill Pinball.
Yeah.
And this would be higher, but it's a bit long and a little fiddly. And I think that's the only negatives. It's really fun, though. It does a really good job of giving you the feel of pinball. So thematically, this one's really, really good. And I like that a lot. But we don't get at the table as much because it is longer. Yeah. And it is a little fiddly, so you have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah.
So, but it's real simple. It's you get there's each box that you get comes with 3 or 4 different pinball boards. And each board has its own set of rules. So that's another challenge, is that if you want to play a new board, you have to learn a new set of rules.
Yep.
But in general, they all obviously have a core set of rules, and you bounce around different bumpers and get multi-balls, and it's just dice 6, so it's really easy to use the dice app for, and it plays pretty simple. I think that it's fiddly, particularly in keeping score. It can be really easy to forget to mark off a couple stars, and the game goes, some of the games will go like 400 points, and every little star you're marking off, and I mean, obviously you're going to miss some potentially, so that happens. But I love the themes, and it has Star Trek, it has a holiday one, it's got all kinds of base themes in the ramp it up and the base game. So it's pretty neat.
And it does have that feeling of a pinball, you know, playing old school pinball, where suddenly the ball would go back and forth, and you'd like rack up a million points. Yeah. And it is fiddly to write those down, but it sure is fun and satisfying when you get it to do that.
And it's got an annoying tilt mechanic, just like the old pinball machines.
Yeah. And it's designed by Jeff Engelstein.
Right.
Who is a really interesting fellow. If you've never listened to his podcast, I recommend it.
So that was my number 37, Super Skill Pinball.
All right, my number 36 is Truck Off, the Food Truck Frenzy Roll and Write by Ryan Lambert and Adam Remberg, and Adam's Apple Games. And for this game, first of all, I love the theme. Second of all, we played this during the pandemic at Gen Con Online, or maybe it was BGG Con Online, and it was, I just have really fond memories of that, especially because we were super isolated. But it's also got this really neat mechanic where you're rolling D4 through D20, and each column is, you know, your D4s, your D6s, etc. And you're trying to maximize your number of points, and it goes forward, then backwards, and forward, then backwards. And you don't want to go too fast, but if the person you're playing against goes faster than you, they can end the game on you. So you can't go too slow either, and you kind of have to try to maximize your points. Yeah, it's just striking that balance between trying to get as many as you can and not getting far behind. I think one of the most recent times we played it, you ended the game and I was still only halfway through, and I was like, what? And I lost terribly because of it. And so, you know, you just have to have that. It's tense. It's a tension in the game that I like.
Yeah.
Even when I lose. And so that is my number 36, Truck Off, Roll and Write.
It's a good one. I don't like the ending of it too much. For that reason, like it's like it can be sudden. Even if I try to give you a heads up that like I'm about to finish it, it can still feel kind of sudden. But I like it as a game. I think it was a honorable mention for me. So.
Okay, great.
My 36 is another crossover from the previous list, and I really like this. This is a really good one. It can play a multiplayer, but it's a really good one to solo, and that's Polyhedral Park Planner.
Yeah.
And not only that, but there's an expansion for it that's specifically a solo expansion that's called Convention Season, I think, Polyhedral Park Planner. And the whole theme is kind of funny. It's like the board game convention's coming to your town, and you have to help them plan a new park. And you flip over a couple cards, and we implemented those in a spreadsheet, and they give you the scoring goals for the game, and then you roll polyhedral dice, and you get to draw park benches and trees and water, and there's a center info station, usually trying to connect it to that and meet the different scoring conditions. And each game's different because the scoring conditions can vary. And some games, like the benches, might not be worth anything. In other games, there might be 2 of the 3 scoring conditions might focus on park benches. So it's really variable in that respect. And so it's pretty fun, and I really like it a lot. It's available online. I believe it's on Print and Play Arcade. And so I recommend it.
Great choice, obviously, because I liked it too.
My 36, Polyhedral Park Planner.
All right. My number 35 is a crossover from the last list as well, and that is Corinth. And that is from Sebastian Pachon? I don't know.
You're asking me?
No. And from Days of Wonder. So your actions are numbered 1 through 6, and you're rolling like 8 dice, and you group them by, what number they are. And then on your turn, you take an entire group of dice. And so again, there's that decision, like I really need to do the first action, but there's only 1 and there's like 4 3s. So I can't really pass up those 4 3s. I'm going to take them, but that's going to have, dire consequences on down the line because I haven't done the first action, which I really needed to do so that I had gold or goats or whatever it was. And so I just really like that, I like that tension. We have another game that's higher on my list where you do that same thing. You pick a group of dice to take, and it's like, oh my God, there's so many of those. You just have to take them because there's so many dice of that number, but it's not what you want to do. And that's just fun. I find that really enjoyable. The theme is a little bit painted on, but I still really like it. It's, ancient Corinth, and you've got urns of olive oil and whatnot. I like that. I like it. Even when it's painted on, I like to be looking at pictures of things that bring me joy. Yeah. So that is my number 35, Corinth.
It's a good pick. Obviously, since it's a crossover.
Yes.
Now, we just realized I've been announcing the wrong numbers, which is my mistake. I apologize. I got used to her going first and then just counting down from there and copying her number. And I'm looking at the tabs in BGG instead of my list directly, so that's my fault. But my number 34 is probably is a roll and write called Welcome to Dino World, and I like this one a lot. If you're looking for a roll write version of Dinosaur Island, to me this is that. Whereas Dinosaur Island Roar and Write, which I think is a good game, a great game, in fact. I believe it's in my top 100. It's just not a roll and write to me. It's a big game with a roll and write mechanic.
Yeah.
And Welcome to Dino World is more of a pure roll and write where you're building a dinosaur park. You got to make sure you're powering the different pens. Got to keep them in their pens. They're dangerous. We've seen Jurassic Park. Every Jurassic Park.
We know what happens.
They don't know what happens because they keep repeating the same mistakes. But anyway, so. Welcome to Dino World is just that. You're rolling dice. You're choosing what kind of pens and what kind of dinosaurs to put out, and you're putting them in your park. Your little road through your park as well, and it's just fun. It's light. It's fun. It's straight up roll and write. Yeah,
I agree. That echoes my thoughts on it 100%. The roll and roar, or whatever it's called, is a game, a full-on board game with some roll and write mechanics, but Welcome to Dino World, I get these all confused, is a roll and write. It is so good.
And so if you're looking for a roll and write that's a roll and write in purer form, I guess. This is designed by James O'Connor, and it was released by Alley Cat Games. So that's that. Welcome to Dino World's my number 34.
Excellent. My number 34 is Rolling Seas by George Jaros. You are sailing. This is not a print and play, but it was, I think, a limited release. Maybe it started as a print and play.
Game Crafter release. Game Crafter does their own crowdfunding campaigns, and we got it as part of the Game Crafter crowdfunding funds. But I think it's still available on Game Crafter. We'll put a link below to where you can get it.
I really enjoy this one. You are sailing around and you're visiting ports, you're exploring, and you're collecting stories, which I really like that element, that you're writing this journal, this tale of all your adventures. And so that's kind of one of the elements, is getting stories from people. And you're just sailing around. It kind of tells you which direction you can go, which direction the wind is flowing at that turn. And you're doing all those things. I am, again, failing for words.
No, I just got stuck at wind is glowing.
Oh, this is what happens when we film after work. I am brain dead.
So, but it's such a good game. It's also my number 33.
Oh, gosh.
Rolling Seas. So, and like I said, it's available in Game Crafter. We actually had them. Game Crafter is a way to print your own games, and we got a print published version of the game, which was kind of nice to have. But we did set it up to play out of our recliners, especially while I was really sick. And it's a really fun game. We use the spreadsheet for the cards, and it's an adventure game. You're going on the high seas. You're going from port to port. You're trying to get as many points as you can, avoid the sea monsters, but you get points for going through where the sea monsters are, and it's pretty cool. I like it a lot.
Excellent. That was a real crossover.
Yeah. 34 for you, 33 for me. Yep. So that's Rolling Seas.
All right. My number 33 is from Blue Orange Games, and it is Kingdomino Duel by Bruno Cathala and Ludovic Malblanc. If you can sit at a table and play Kingdomino, I would choose Kingdomino over Kingdomino Duel every day of the week. However, if you can't, Kingdomino Duel is really fun and satisfying implementation of Kingdomino. You are rolling dice with the symbols on them, and creating your contiguous map out of those symbols. Some dice have an X on it, which is letting you know that that's going to be a multiplier for that territory, and some don't. If you take one that doesn't have the multiplier, or if you're forced to take one that doesn't have the multiplier on it, you get to mark off boxes towards getting special powers, which is, I always love special powers. And so it's just a really fun, satisfying implementation of Kingdomino that you can play from your bed, from your chair. So that is my number 33, Kingdomino Duel.
She likes special powers so much, she walks around the house trying to get bit by spiders. I'm sorry, that was terrible.
Oh my God, we're so punchy today.
My number 32 is another published game. And this one's a new one that we just got introduced to, and we played it so wrong the first time. And I had to watch a playthrough. And but anyway, it is Next Station London. Once we got it right, I really like this game.
Yes, it is much better when you play by the correct rules.
So, and it's really, this is a flip and write, and it's got a variable round system where there's 11 cards and 5 of them are pink, and when the 5th pink card comes out, the round ends. And you're drawing, it's got a neat mechanic where you're drawing different colored subway lines, so each round you have a different colored, well, pen in our case, pencils come with the game, but we use markers in our sheets, and it's like purple one round, red another, and there's an expansion that comes with it that gives you colored pencil powers. So when you're writing with the red, you get a certain power, and
Yep.
those are variables, so you shuffle them before every game. And so it's pretty neat, and it's really fun. You end up with this cool looking subway map, and how many times you cross the Thames, dictates like how part of your score, and how many times you get stations in a particular district, and how many districts your route crosses into. And it can be pretty high scoring, actually.
Yeah.
It was really weird because our first couple games we were playing so wrong. We were scoring so low. They had like a scale for solo play, and I'm like showing up as the worst possible player.
Like, how do people do better than this?
And I had read it as you only turn over 5 cards no matter what.
Yeah.
And it turns out you can turn over 9, 10, 11 most rounds. So.
Yeah. So this did not make my list, but only because I did my list before we played this, or before we got this.
Okay.
And so it would absolutely be in here somewhere. I'm just not sure where.
It was a late tweak for me. I was like, I want to get that in there, and I just kind of move things around. So
all right.
Anyway, my number 32, next station, London.
All right. My number 32 is from Cosmos Games, and it is Lost Cities, The Roll and Write, from Rainer Knizia. It's a push your luck game. It's super quick and easy to get to the table. You're just rolling dice and trying to, it's the same thing. You've got to progress from 0 to 10. You can't go backwards. So if you are stuck taking a 5 one round when you've only got 1 in your column, you've jumped, right? And then that's going to make it that much more difficult to get higher on that level. It's just easy. It's easy. It's satisfying. I like that push your luck. I like that decision making element to it. It's got the multiplier like Lost Cities, the card game, does. So that is my number 32, is Lost Cities, the Roll and Write.
That's a good choice as well. We play that a lot, so it's really, really easy to play. So my 31 is a game from Queen Games, and this is Copenhagen Roll and Write. So we have Copenhagen the game, but this is Queen Games has been going through and making roll and write versions of many of their games. So they did Alhambra, they did Copenhagen, I forget what else they've done. But Copenhagen is my number 31, and it's it gives you the flavor of the big game. It's a polyomino game. It's based on like the house fronts in Copenhagen with the different colors. And so you're doing polyominoes to build a house front, and to fill, basically you're filling rows and columns, and you get points if you complete certain rows and certain columns. And if you get those, it's kind of a race game. Once somebody gets 10 points, the game ends. But being first doesn't guarantee that you win, because you finish the round or whatever. Right. It's just really fun. I mean, I think you get to mark a lot of things off. You can get bonuses. There's different tracks on the left. You're working your way down, Xing off different things, and you can get bonuses to reroll your dice, to draw different shapes, to do shapes that are no longer available. So, and this is one where there's actually kind of a central board area where there's a central sheet where you choose your polyominoes that you're going to draw, and then certain polyominoes, the bigger ones, all become, they're single use. Like, so once I take it, you can't take it. And we replicated that in a spreadsheet so that we could do it from our chairs. But it's really fun, and I'm really impressed with most of their roll and write implementations. I think they're all pretty good so far.
Yeah, they really are. I don't think this one made my list, but I think mostly because it's tight and I lose a lot. And I think that has me less enthusiastic about it. But we went to Copenhagen on our honeymoon too, so we really love the theme.
Yeah, so we're partial to Copenhagen.
Yeah, we are.
So 31, Copenhagen roll and write.
Well, my 31, I think you're going to be horrified and shocked at how low it is on this list. My 31 is On Tour from
okay.
Board Game Tables, now called All Play, designed by Chad Deshawn. It is a vexing game. It's really good and it is really fun and I do enjoy it, but it's so vexing. You're rolling dice and flipping cards that have, if you're playing, let's say the US version, have states on it and territories, and you have to, it has to go in one of the territories listed. You're trying to get your numbers in a sequential order, high to low or low to high. And if you end up having to write something that's out of order, then you can't go through there. And it just can be so vexing. You have this like perfect, amazing long route and you just need one number and it never comes, or you're forced to put a different number there and it just chops your route in half. So it's a little bit of a brutal game, but it's fun. It's really good. And there's multiple maps now. They released On Tour Europe. That was the second release, and then they just released New York and is it New Orleans?
Paris.
Okay. We played Paris. I really like it. I think it might move it up higher on the list for me if we play Paris a little bit more. There's some.
And we haven't played New York yet, so
you can take boats in Paris, which actually helps mitigate some of that brutality, which I really like, and I think that might.
I believe you won Paris as well.
Yeah. I think that might raise it up the list a bit, but either way, I mean, it's my number 31, so it's a
good pick.
Solid game.
I mean, spoiler, it's probably not my top 5, so it's like I'm not too surprised where it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a good game. I think it's really enjoyable, and I really enjoy playing it, but I don't think it's like a top 5 game.
Right.
Per se.
Yeah. No, I don't think but I think you like it more than I do.
That may be true.
Mostly because you win more than I do. But
that's not why I like it more.
No, that's why I don't like it as much. That's why it's lower on my list.
Okay. Well, I mean, it doesn't hurt that I win. Anyway, so that is our 40 to 31 rolling rights, and I apologize for my number of mistakes, and we'll get that right next time.
And I apologize for being just punchy and brain dead tonight. Thanks for hanging.
Thanks for watching, and remember, every day we play a board game.
It's a holiday.